guys, and welcome to my final chat for The Walking Dead. This is the chat for the 8th season. Disclaimer, like I say in the beginning of all of my chats, if you are not entirely caught up with The Walking Dead and maybe some, news for season 9, if you've been under a rock or something, please don't listen because we kind of talk about everything even though we are focused on one particular episode. However, this is the most recent one, so it's not, if you are listening to this chat, you probably are caught up, I would assume. For this episode, I was joined by who you know as Failwhale34, and he is just amazing and lovely and such a kind person. I was really, really fortunate to be able to kind of have this discussion with him, and he's hilarious, but also just really sweet and really, I feel like he definitely picked an episode that meant a lot to him, which was really, really great to get into. And honestly, I was so happy he picked this episode because it's one of my favorites from last season as well. I know that it was a bit traumatizing for some of you, and we get into all of that and how this episode really affected Ezekiel moving forward, and it was just honestly such a great time and such a great chat. So I hope you guys are excited. All right, let's get into it.
We're on easy street, and it feels so sweet, 'cause the world is but a treat when you're on easy street.
Hey guys, and welcome to the next chat in my Walking Dead countdown. This is the final chat, and it is the chat for season 8, and I am here with the one, the only, Failwhale, aka Michael, or Michael, aka Failwhale. I'm not sure how I should say that, but
Michael's a real name. I'm doing really well.
Am I
Thank you so much
outing
for
you?
having
Do you
me.
not like say that your name is Michael?
Oh no, I've been exposed. No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for having me on the channel to have this Walking Dead discussion with you. I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys don't know who I am, yeah, my name's Failwhale34. I do a lot of TV show reaction videos
I
to
feel
similar
like they know
shows.
who you are.
Oh. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about all things The Walking Dead. Thank you for having me.
So when did you start watching The Walking Dead? Was it on camera or off?
Oh, it was definitely off camera.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm a young boy. I'm only 21. So I think I started watching when I was in the 9th grade. So that was 7 years ago.
So
Yeah, it was really weird. Like my friend at the time, he was just like, "Yo, there's this dope show," and I think the show was only at season 2. I think it was just starting season 2, so I started watching it from there, and like I loved it. And then I went back and started from the beginning, and then I was absolutely obsessed with the show. So I had to go and read the comic books once I figured out there were comic books for the series. And then ever since then, I just fell in love and started collecting the series, which I've been doing ever since 2011. So that's how I got into the series.
So you've been watching for a long time.
Yeah,
sure.
for a decent amount of time when Shane's bald head was still around.
Yeah. When Shane period was still around.
Yeah. Rip.
Why did you start reacting, or when did you start reacting to The Walking Dead? Was it much later?
Yeah, it was definitely much later on. I mean, at the time, I didn't have a YouTube channel really. So I started doing YouTube in like March of 2015. So that was at the end of high school. And then it wasn't until that fall, which was like September, that I started to do just like regular reviews. So I think one of the first things I was doing was like not even The Walking Dead. It was actually Fear the Walking Dead. Like season 1, I think I was doing like really bad reviews for the series.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So I think like what was happening back then? That's like when Daniel was still around, and like they were doing that whole like it was only 6 episodes, right?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think I reviewed the entire first season, and then once The Walking Dead came back from its the first half season or whatever it was, so season 6, like episode like 12, when Jesus was being introduced.
Right. Oh,
I already had
good
done my
episode.
yeah, what an episode, right? So I think I had done my first reaction video to Jessica Jones because I noticed reaction videos are like being a thing, and I'm like, I like watching TV shows, and like I'm just a typically like I pop off for like a lot of things. It's just how I am.
Yeah.
So like when Carl got shot in the eye, spoilers if no one you've probably seen, if you're watching this, then you've probably seen that. But
I
when
put
he
a
got
spoiler warning before every chat. Don't worry.
okay, just making sure. So like when Carl got shot in the eye, my mom was just like she thought I died because I was yelling so much. So
Yeah,
I was like,
mean,
why don't I just do? Sorry.
No, sorry. Some people, they always think like, oh, you're over exaggerating for the camera and stuff. I'm like, no. When I watch anything, I'm
Right?
that dramatic.
Yeah, it's like I'm an extra human being. Like, so once The Walking Dead came back, I was like, wait a minute. I just put the two and two together. I'm like, why don't I just do what I did for that Jessica Jones, like that one-off reaction, and do it for something that like I actually love and like I'm really passionate about. So that's how that came about.
That's awesome. And so for this chat, I mean, we're not going that far back as some of the other chats have gone, but we are going to be getting into season 8, episode 4, Some Guy, which was one of my favorite episodes of the season. I was so happy that you picked it.
I know you're like so you're gonna get one season from the entire show, and I'm like, okay, I hope it's a season that like has like one of my favorite episodes, and then like bam, you get season 8, and I'm like, okay, season 8, Negan, da, da, da. I'm like, oh, Ezekiel episode. That's one that like when I think of season 8 stands out to me, and
yeah,
I picked it.
Skip right over Negan. We don't. I'm just kidding. I'm so ride or die for Rick that Negan sometimes.
Oh, you just like whenever people talk about Negan, you're just like, nah.
Yeah.
The bat's cool, the leather jacket, but I'll skip with the potty mouth guy.
Yeah. So getting into this episode, we start with kind of a flashback to before the battle and all of that, and we see Ezekiel kind of put on his whole disguise. How did you feel about how he was able to portray the king, and how exhausting do you think it was for him to really put on that performance every single day for these people?
I mean, that's a great point because I never really had thought how exhausted it was for him until this episode came about. Before this, I was like, oh, like he's really good at, this performance and putting on this face. But it sort of reminds me of like people in real life, like the happiest people you see are really the saddest. And I feel like that goes to Ezekiel to some capacity.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like a terrible liar, so I would be.
if you were Ezekiel, you wouldn't be able to do it for long, eh?
No, like I would be queen for like a week. And then I'd be like, somebody else take over.
Who's trying to tag in for this? Like, but no, it was probably pretty exhausting for him to do that. I mean, he's been doing that ever since the apocalypse happened, and I think at that point it had been like a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it was a while.
Like it's one thing to lead people, being like maybe like a crew leader or like being a mix of both, but to be happy and motivating and speak like you have a syllabus built into your. I mean, not a syllabus. What's it called? Like a dictionary built into your head or something. It's crazy. Yeah. So, especially being he was like a zookeeper or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
he's not even in the same
the whole
field.
time. He was a king deep down in his heart.
He was a king. He was a lion deep down inside, right? So it's definitely interesting.
So when you bring up kind of his speeches and stuff, how did you feel about like his speeches, but also just throughout this whole battle? How did you feel about his positivity, and do you think that it was like effective for leading his people into battle, or do you think it isn't the best approach? Rewatching this episode, because obviously I had to since I want to talk to you about it, I really appreciate it even more than I did before. It's like, especially the intro. I sorry to like diverge for a second. This might have been one of my favorite intros, I think, of any Walking Dead episode. For sure.
in the entire series. It was so well put together, poetic almost, with like the ending, the beginning of him literally putting on his facade or whatever it is, his attire.
Yeah.
To him giving his speech, which is beautiful. He's telling people, to yet I smile and everything was just fantastic. And I think Carrie Payton,
I don't know. Oh
I
my
believe
God.
the actor. We should
What
have done
fans
our
are we?
research. Yeah, right. Uh, he did a fantastic job, and it was probably one of my favorite performances of his. Um, it's- so I think so speaking to the positivity, it definitely had an impact. Like they touched upon it. He's sort of like manipulating them to an extent, but he actually generally did believe in what he was saying.
Well, if you think about like going into battle, you'd rather have a positive outlook on it than a negative. Like you don't
Exactly.
want to go into
You don't
battle
want to
being
tell
like,
them.
we're gonna lose.
No, exactly. You don't want to just be like, yeah, you guys might not make it, but I really appreciate your time and effort.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, that's not the best. I did think that it was really interesting when he gave that speech in that opening bit that the camera pans to Carol and you just see her with like this dead ass serious
Yeah.
face. Like
This
I mean, she knows that it's all an act and stuff, but I think it's also because she knows how horrible this world can be. And
exactly. And sometimes you need a smile. You need some positivity in
right,
such grim situations.
yeah, and it, like you were saying, the cut scene to all of, I mean, it
His
wasn't just the,
comrades.
yeah, like it wasn't even just his people were dead. They were like their guts were outside of their bodies and like they got massacred.
Oh, 100%. And I really liked how for this episode they show us like, okay, here's Ezekiel, what he's been doing this entire time, showing this positivity, sending people into battle. And there are consequences. Like when you're using this, when you're manipulating people to an extent, showing them this positivity, obviously you're doing it for what you think is good, but there are negatives to it. And we really see that presented with all the guts and the blood literally on top of it. And he's owning up for that throughout the episode. And I guess we could talk about it later about some of the people, but that like Bubbles looking character that they
Yeah.
introduced a little bit later on?
Yes.
I completely forgot about it until I rewatched it, and I'm like, he was not even. At first, I was like, "What is this random guy here?" Like, I didn't like it, but rewatching it, he's literally just like the physical incarnation of, you know, his other side, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you're just hearing his negative thoughts speaking to him, right?
Yeah.
Like when you hear all of the guy's dialogues again, he's like, you're no king, blah 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 blah. It's just like him
Yeah.
talking shit to himself.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree. And just how when you first watched it, if you can remember, like when you were watching him kind of like dealing with the fact that all of his people died, not only just died, but jumped on top of him so he didn't have to die, which I think is where all of the guilt comes from. How
Yeah.
did you feel were you like, oh, this is really sad? Or were you like, oh shit, they're all going to turn into walkers? Like, was that even on your mind? Or were you still processing?
Well, we can go. I can actually go back and watch it, but um,
I'll link it
one of
down
the
below, guys, his reaction.
no,
So we'll see.
no, but I didn't even remember how I initially reacted to it. But if I recall, I was just shocked because I think it was so effective in the way
Yeah.
that they shot it. Just having
I
like the transition when he had all the like, yet I smile and all these bodies like cheering next to him, and it cuts to just all these bodies just on top of him.
yeah.
Oh my goodness,
I wasn't even like, I wasn't even focused on the fact that they're
they are
probably,
walkers.
yeah. Like, I was like, oh, this is really sad. Let's have Ezekiel have his moment, cry, sweetie. And then they start moving, and I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah, and then you're
You
like,
gotta
yeah, but
move.
I forgot we live in this shitty world. So even something like that, I looked at it as like a consequence of like his of his positivity, I guess, or him leading
Yeah.
them into battle. And in a battle, he knew that like at least half of them weren't coming back from.
Hmm.
So it literally came back from the dead to haunt him. And I think that was eating him up as the episode progressed. And then once he met the Bubbles looking character, I think that just even he just literally gave up. You can see it at some points in the episode. And I thought it was just really beautiful, this episode as a whole, especially for Ezekiel's arc.
Well, I think that, like, obviously there's a lot of, to touch on something a little bit further ahead in the episode, I think my favorite line from the episode is when the guy is like, Gunther, that's his name. I had to remember.
Gunther, that's him, right?
Yeah. That he's like, your people are all dead and they're still following you.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that because it's just
Love it too.
Yeah, I mean, just like the fact that his guilt of it's all fun and games until all of your people die for you, so to
Right?
speak, And did you think that like Ezekiel was going to die in this episode? Like, because a lot of
Yo,
times when The Walking Dead focuses on a character, you're like, uh-oh.
I know, it's like once anyone has like more than 3 lines, like remember when Dale was talking up? All of a sudden, like out of nowhere, out of nowhere, Dale, you just look at Dale in like that season 2 episode, and he starts talking about like his own views and stuff. And like, Dale, shut up, you're gonna die.
Not even the best one is in when T-Dog started talking.
Yeah,
and you were like, "Excuse you, you have lines? Oh no."
See ya, buddy. But sorry, you're asking about Gunther?
Yeah.
Like, what's the question again?
So I mean, I think that like it's kind of interesting that he just kept pointing out all of these things that Ezekiel, like you were saying, is probably playing in his head and really like monopolizing on his guilt.
Yeah.
Where do you think he fit into the ranks of the saviors?
See, that's one of the things I think I had a bigger issue with when I first watched the episode, and I think upon second viewing, I understand the point that the writers are trying to make in that character. I think it was like he's supposed to be like an over, he's so like out there and like a characterization, I guess, of Ezekiel's evil side, or not evil side, like of his dark feelings and thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
How he feels about himself, and I think they presented it in a Bubbles-esque character. Like he does not look like he's a savior whatsoever, and I think that was the point.
Well, I mean, he does kind of look like a psychopath, so in that sense,
yeah, I guess, but he's not like a
he's not like a big guy or whatever. Well, I was like, I just watching it, you're like, this guy's gonna take you out, Ezekiel. Get up, like.
When I looked at that, I kind of, it made sense to me in a sense, because you think about it, like this dude, if like from an outside perspective, this dude is your like how Carol thinks, like this guy Ezekiel, he's your leader.
Yeah.
A guy with a tiger who's speaking in like he's from Shakespeare's time. Like this is a guy who's leading you the apocalypse, really? So I kind of think that was interesting how they made that Gunther character how he was, and if that has related to in any way. But what did you think about his character and in all that stuff?
I think at the time I was just so fed up with him.
Yeah,
like, like you definitely, when you're watching it for the first time, you're like, this guy needs to go now. Like, you're just not having it. But I do think that I think it was actually more significant of the fact that this guy was a nobody, and he was kind of had the upper hand on Ezekiel. Like that's how far the king had fallen. I don't know his position. He could have been a high-ranking, savior guy, but I don't really believe so. I think the point was that it was kind of just like some random guy.
And that was so weird to me. It was just like how it wasn't even any we've seen before or even heard of. It just literally some random dude, and to me that kind of stood out as like I think they were trying to send a direct message, and his dialogue was so on the point. There wasn't very much room for some randomness. It was just straight to talk shit about Ezekiel and not very much else.
So I think there's something really interesting about Ezekiel's people, just in general. Because, at the end of episode 3, they kind of all jump on top of him. And so why do you think that they were so set on saving him, protecting him, making sure he was okay? Because, like, if you think about it, if there was a different situation and there was like a bunch of Rick's group, Alexandrians there, I don't think everybody would have piled on top of Rick. That would have been really bizarre
I
if they did that.
I think Daryl might have even been like, I don't know about that one, Rick.
Maybe some people would, but I just don't think that So why do you think that they were so like they just wanted their king to survive?
Yeah, I think they're very loyal, a very
Yeah.
loyal group of people. He did, I guess, save them in a sense in the apocalypse, and he guided them and he helped them, and he was very supportive and uplifting. I can't say Rick was like that all the time throughout the series,
Yeah.
especially in Alexandria.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think they do that for him. But for Ezekiel, he really was their rock, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he really, I guess if you fall in line with somebody calling themselves king,
Like you
then
got to be
you're
down to die for him. You know?
yeah. Yeah.
You can't half-ass that kind of shit in the apocalypse.
No, you can't. It's true. Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely insane. Obviously, that's where a lot of the guilt comes from. You know, they keep trying to, even when uh, Alvaro was alive,
Hmm.
you know, and he refused to leave Ezekiel behind,
Yeah, he was the
anything
guy who
like that.
came after Ezekiel was like tripping up and like the bodies were there. The
Yeah,
first dude to come
yeah,
and help him out, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So what did you
and
think about all of that blood and how gory they wanted they because they could have chose to not make this episode as gory, right?
yeah,
So how do you feel about all of that entire sequence and them
that was.
choosing to make it very like graphic?
I loved it. That sounds weird,
No.
but I loved the fact that you are seeing characters that maybe they weren't the biggest characters on the show or anything like that, but you're seeing characters that you've seen for like about a season now, um, and they are just like their arms are hanging off, and it's just gruesome. And
Oh yeah.
I feel like you feel another level of loss when you see somebody's like not to but bringing up like there's a certain level of loss, and I guess it's kind of degrading in a sense. Like if you think about something like somebody who died peacefully, or maybe not
Hmm.
peacefully, but like in comparison to like how Glenn died, there's
Yeah,
another level to that where it's that gruesome, I
exactly.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very similar about that. It's like they could have simply just, shown the bodies, but they went out of their way to show guts on the floor, arms dismembered, like literally like you're panning on the floor and the first thing you see is a dismembered hand.
Yeah.
Um, so I liked all of that just to show
And
how
it's
like, sorry.
well, I was just gonna say, like, it's amazing that the show can still do that, given that the show is literally based off of walkers that look pretty disgusting
Yeah,
all the time. So we get accustomed to it as viewers, you
exactly. And
know?
I think the thing about that scene that tripped me out the most was, we had just seen them as humans and it's only been like what, probably like a couple hours. They've been
Yeah,
asleep and then they were just humans, now they're dead. These people were following you and now they're out to get you. So I just loved all that.
yeah. Why do you think, like, Gunther was smearing the blood on Ezekiel's face
You
that
know what?
time?
I honestly don't know. I was watching it. I was eating my dinner. I was rewatching it, and I was like, "What? What are we doing?" I was trying to look deeper into it, and I guess just I think that was the point where Ezekiel gave up. I think that might have been like the point. He was like,
Yeah, I
"Okay,
think
I'm
it was
I'm
just a
cool to die."
dominance
It was a
thing. Yeah,
dominance thing, and it's just like maybe it was like, "Oh, this blood is on your hands," sort of
yeah,
thing.
basically, yeah. I because I remember watching that and being like, again, so unnecessary. Who is this guy?
Yeah, I don't think he was as bad in retrospect though. I feel like when I remember watching it, I was like, it felt so long. I felt like he
Yeah,
was like half the episode, but then as I was watching it again, it's like, no, this episode was there's quite a few things going on, right? It wasn't just Ezekiel, right? There was a whole sort of Carol backstory going on, and then
yeah.
even a
There
little
was.
bit of Rick and Daryl, which I completely forgot about.
I always like seeing Rick and Daryl show up in the nick of time, so I was very content with that part. Um, so were you concerned that Jerry was dead? And uh, how excited were you when he? I mean, he made an entrance like in
Entrance.
the episode.
That's a really good way to put it. He was he's probably a lumberjack on his spare time, is what you
Yeah.
should say.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't when I rewatched, I didn't remember the situation before because I didn't watch episode 3 or 5. But I think at the moment they just showed all the people getting shot, and you couldn't tell whether or not Jerry survived, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. So I think I was at the moment I was like really concerned. I was like, wait, is Jerry dead? Is some stable characters dead? Because even like some of like the secondary third, I guess third types of characters, they died, which made this scene pretty this episode pretty impactful, right? They weren't just some
Yeah,
randoms from his group. There were some people we've seen pop up, had one or two lines before, so it gave a little bit of gravity to it, right? But Jerry, I'm so happy Jerry's good. He's one of my favorite characters, and I
yeah,
think it would have been weird for him to just be killed off in a situation like that. I feel like there was more to his character, and I'm glad they kept
right.
him.
Like if he were to be killed off, it would have been like a separate thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it wouldn't feel, for me at least, like the right time, you know. And
yeah,
I think the way that they executed him throughout the rest of the episode was what I would want.
yeah. I mean, and he was still set on calling Ezekiel king. He was just. I mean, I think he's probably one of the most loyal characters to Ezekiel that
Oh
the
yeah, without
show
a
has
doubt.
ever had.
He's like Rick's Daryl, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Daryl goes off a little bit sometimes.
Jerry goes off just to get his cobbler. That's about it.
That's about it.
It's a little different.
A little different. But I'm not saying, guys, I'm not saying that Daryl isn't loyal to Rick. Please don't come for me.
I mean, who knows? In season 9, we can't confirm that.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know yet.
Exactly.
I, why do you think Jerry? I mean, I see a lot of the kingdom's people being loyal to Ezekiel because of, what we were talking about before, that they believe in the king and stuff. I feel like Jerry just thinks of him as like a brother.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree with you on that. Especially there's a couple of lines of dialogue that reaffirm that, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
When when Ezekiel is at his low point and then Jerry comes in to sort of, confront him about that, and he's like, no, like, my king and stuff. He's like, don't call me that. Leave me alone. I want to die, because he's like, I feel like he's in that mindset at that moment. He's like, dude, like stop this bullshit. Like, you're my boy.
Yeah.
Relax. Okay, we're gonna get through this. I know you die in the comics around this time, but your contract come back. Like,
Yeah.
contractually, you're bound to make it in season 9. You're good. Don't worry. So, yeah, I like that personal part to it, the personal relationship.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're just absolutely. I think that probably one of the best friendships of the show, for sure.
Yeah, for me, they're
Um,
they're one of my favorites as well.
so going into kind of another aspect of the episode, we get into Carol literally just taking out saviors like it's nothing because she's Carol.
Oh yeah, this might have been, apart from that one. I think the what was it? This Terminus
Yeah,
introduction
yeah,
from season 5. This might have been one of my favorite Carol moments. Like, she just went full on. What was that? Like Atomic Blonde / like John Wick. It was like a thriller revenge movie. It was so dope. Even the way they shot it, I just loved all of that with Carol.
Was she just so great because she's just so smart?
Yeah.
Like it's because she's not like the most intimidating physically. I
I don't
mean,
know, man. Carol for me, I quiver in my boots every time I see her with a gun.
well, yeah, but like I'm saying, like if she didn't have a gun and you had to like fist fight her, I mean, I would lose because I can't fight. But
I just be like, you know what? This ain't it. Bye.
yeah,
I'll just walk away. I wouldn't even bother.
I mean, honestly, like I mean, she makes me feel like I could like survive in the apocalypse, but I mean,
Yeah.
probably not. I would probably die pretty early.
No,
I'd be like.
I,
I'd be like Andrea's sister in season 1. Like that's
oh
about the
no.
time I would go. That's me. Just a
How long
random
do you think
bite,
you
and I'm
survive?
like,
Just a
oh.
day? Well, that was fun.
I did go to the Junior Olympics for archery.
Oh,
So
well, look how far Daryl made it. I think he'll be pretty good then.
I know, but it's kind of unreal. I would have to still get all my arrows. I don't like
It's
running,
resources that's
you
a
know?
hassle, you know?
Yeah.
It's never like, for me, like one of my biggest, this is like a sidetrack, but like one of my favorite / worst dreams is it's a zombie apocalypse, I'm like
Yeah.
super psyched. I'm like getting my baseball bat. I'm like putting on my armor. I walk out of my house, and right when I walk out, a walker just like nibbles on my toe, and that's it. And I'm just like, really? I've been waiting for this. Oh man.
That's what's gonna happen. Like, there is some luck involved. There has to
Oh yeah,
be, you
there
know,
has to
because
be. You
I
have
don't,
to have
I
that plot armor.
wouldn't.
You know, you gotta have that Rick plot armor.
I mean,
Well, actually, we don't know how
so
long that's
far,
gonna last for.
yeah. Um, uh, so there's this kind of like moment where she's like, you know, gunning down these guys by herself, and it's just they never know. The best thing about Carol is she's so unsuspecting
Oh
that
yeah,
nobody knows that she's
she'll
gonna.
she'll bake you cookies and then gun you down.
Yeah.
She's savage.
And she has to kind of make a decision of whether to let the guns go and get to Negan. That worked out, but and or save Ezekiel and Jerry. What would you have done? What is more important?
You know, it's war. You know, sometimes there's casualties. Um, I would have probably went for the guns. I don't know. She's
Yeah,
more than capable, right? And they were holding themselves off. I might have
yeah,
tried to go for the guns and then afterwards help them. I don't know. Maybe that's just me though, because Rick and Daryl coming to get them, like that's such a random chance.
right. Well, yeah, and
I
also
don't know if
it's
I'll compromise with war for that.
you know, Jerry was pretty good with that axe. He was doing good,
Yeah, though,
so
the
he
boy was
could have
swinging
been
his arm
fine.
pretty good. How about you? What would you have done? Am I evil? Am I
uh, I
cynical or
don't
something?
know. I can't. I don't know if I could ever let Jerry die, though. You know, he's so sweet.
That is very
I
true.
know she was probably more focused on Ezekiel. Like, I get it, but like, could you ever live with yourself if you were the reason that Jerry died? Like, I don't know.
Maybe her line of thinking was like, I killed enough people today. Maybe I'll save one or two.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's true, but if Negan got the guns, which is what they were like doing for the first
Yeah.
3 episodes, was making sure that they got their hands on the guns. So I mean, I guess you got to go for the guns.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's like we got to show her having like a change of character, and then
Yeah,
her. So I get that from that perspective. But like, if I was dead ass in the apocalypse, see ya, fam.
yeah.
Those guns are mine. You know.
And I absolutely love when Rick and Daryl show up. You just hear like the revving of the engines, and you just see Carol like smile, and you're
I
like,
know,
"Oh,
right?
it's all okay."
It's all okay. That was a transition that like I didn't even expect, and it was a great, I think, balance out of the episode. It had a good amount of emotion, mixed in with some Carol action, sprinkled in with some bubbles, more emotional aspects with Ezekiel, and then ended it off on like a fast and the furious chase with, which I must say, the music this episode really stood out to me. And they had
Yeah,
like a synth score. It almost felt like I was watching like Good Time or something from A24. Um,
yeah. I think that I love the just the entire direction of this episode with
yeah.
all of the shots and the music and everything was kind of really on point, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You can feel that they had a lot of emphasis and specific things that they wanted to get across, and I think it just resulted in, I think, one of my favorite episodes of season 8 and one of the best, one of my favorites, honestly, of the entire series. I like
Yeah.
this one quite a bit.
And I loved how Rick just like hopped in the car with the guy, like he like without a thought. He was just
No
like,
hesitation.
listen. Yeah, he was like, listen, I gotta get guns, and you're in my way, so I'm gonna kill you. Sorry, like
Yeah, like I thought fuel and vehicles were important, Rick. I didn't know we could just disregard jeeps. Like that was a
it was.
dope sequence.
Oh my god, it was great. So, how do you think Rick looking back? Because he, you know, spoilers, guys, the savior in the car didn't really make it.
Womp,
um,
womp,
how do you think he feels about all of the saviors that he had to kill throughout the season based on where he got at the end of the season with Carl's wishes and all of that?
I think in that moment, if I recall correctly, with like the story for Rick, he could care less, right?
Hmm. Oh, for sure.
I think he could. I think he could. He would kill more if he had the option, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but by the end of the season, yeah, I mean, he's adopted Carl's ways, so I guess he might feel bad about it. But
Yeah.
I mean, that guy in that car hop was all for a purpose, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't go to war with somebody who bashes people's heads in with bats and think that you're not going to have to kill somebody.
exactly,
I
which is
feel
actually
like.
kind of weird though, because if I recall, Negan was down to not even fight.
Right.
But wasn't it Rick who's like, nah, fam, like we're throwing hands.
I mean, and I fully support Rick's decision in that.
Yeah, no, no, totally.
I think,
It's
yeah, no, I definitely, yeah, but I feel like it's it's so strange to me, Negan's approach, because he does play this like, I'm just a guy, I'm just a
like,
cool
come on,
guy.
bro, I'm just out here trying to do some good, man.
You know, like that's his vibe, and you're like, yeah, but we all witnessed you kill Abraham and Glenn like
He's
that.
like a how would I say it? Like a periodic psychopath. Like he'll let it slip occasionally. He's like, it's all fun and games until you cross me, Simon, and I'm gonna have to murder you.
Yeah, which that was great too. But I mean, oh my god, yeah. Um, so we have a Carol and Ezekiel flashback kind of towards the end of the episode where they're, for any of you who haven't rewatched it recently, they kind of talk about uh he asks her, you know, if she decided to be brave, and she said that, you know, she decided, but also some things got decided for her. How do you think that relates to like Ezekiel's story in this episode?
I think very much so, right? It's like Carol and Ezekiel, even though they're very different, they're also fairly kind of similar,
Yeah.
in the sense that, like she was saying, like she got kind of forced into this badass role of hers, um,
Hmm.
and Ezekiel sort of like he said, he just was like at the zoo doing his thing with with his tiger,
Yeah.
with Shiva, you know, and um, he just things he got dealt these cards and he just played them right.
Yeah, and I think that like deciding to be brave only gets you so far, and then this episode happens to him, and he just can't can't take it, can't deal.
Yeah, there's a limit to everything, and I think this was definitely that the most he could handle. And I don't I think that part actually was maybe one of my least favorite parts of the episode, or not. I don't think I liked it as much as the other parts, like the flashback, because they only did that flashback just to establish his origin, because I think previously we didn't know that stuff, right?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I definitely understand what you mean.
Yeah, but it wasn't by any means like anything like that deterred from, I think, too much from the episode for me. And then the swamp thing, we're just like, oh, swamp thing, no pun intended for like the character or anything from DC, but that swamp sequence
Yeah,
where he's just like, go on without me. I'm like,
yeah.
I was just like, don't do this now. I'm like, really?
I mean, I feel like they could have really like pulled him out of there, you know?
Yeah,
Just put your
it's
back
like,
into it,
dude.
Jerry.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you spent this whole time getting there. You're gonna quit now? Like, no, no, do this. In the car on the way back. Be like, not now, but
I loved when Carol was like, "Yeah, you don't get to do that.
exactly.
Shut up." I mean, she didn't say that, but she might as well have. She was
It's
just like,
basically what she said.
"Stop
So
talking."
that's why I love that sequence as well. How Carol just kind of called him out. He was like, you know what? Like, well, I'm not having it today.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think
um,
about that whole sequence?
I mean, oh god, it's just sad to see him get so broken. I mean, he loses his people, and I mean, he didn't lose Jerry, so we have something, but I think he was a person who was kind of parading and, you know, putting on this front that he was a king, but he really wasn't as ready for this
That's
fight
what I
as
thought
he
it was.
thought he was.
Yeah,
And
I'm with you on that. And I think what this episode to me showed again is just like consequences, right? All of his actions leading these people playing this role.
Yeah.
He did as long as he could, and this was just all of those consequences that gets accumulated and hitting him all at once, which was really impactful, I'd say. Right? You see him not only lose his people, you know, he injured himself, he got into a really bad situation, and at the end of it, it all accumulated to the biggest loss for him, right?
Yeah, for sure. And okay, so let's get into it. Like the moment that everybody kind of remembers from this episode, I guess, would be Shiva's death.
Mm-hmm.
Were you sad? Were you like, oh, it's just a CGI tiger, I don't care? Or were you like, no, like devastated? Because I feel like those are the two ends of the spectrum that people fell on when watching.
Yeah, I think it was like that. I'm trying to recall how my initial reaction was. I honestly probably have to watch it, but thinking about it, I think I didn't think I was like super devastated.
Yeah.
I don't think I was. I think I was sort of caught off guard, and it felt, I think, a little jarring the fact that Shiva came out of nowhere in this situation. I think that's how I felt about it initially, but it was still sad just to see it get gobbled up.
Yeah, like I think that like when I watched it, I was like, it just like it made me think of like my dog, even though she's not a dog, but like I feel like my dog would do the same thing if I was in trouble. So I got like really sad about that. Like I was just like,
yeah, ties back into the loyalty, you know.
Yeah,
his
like
people,
it's
his people.
Yeah, and I think that I mean there is something about an animal's love, though a tiger is not a typical pet, to be fair. But there is something about an animal's love that is just so loyal. And obviously he said he jumped in without hesitation. She jumped in without hesitation. Obviously that was kind of, what they were
Full circle.
Yeah, going with that. How devastating of a loss do you think this was for him?
Oh, for him it was gigantic, right? Shiva was all he had pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from his community, and I guess I don't think him and Carol really were they developing something at that point, or
I think something
seeds were planted, right?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, so it's not like he was in like a relationship, or they had anything going on like
I mean,
substantial.
She had that cute little cottage, and he visited her and gave her food, and there was that.
So yeah, I guess maybe like in that context, like. How many people are you really having a cottage just for them, right? So you probably feel quite a bit of feelings for them, right? So he doesn't have a large amount of things, and Shiva, I had to say, was probably the biggest thing out of all his things. So it definitely was a huge loss for him.
Do you think that was the moment that he like absolutely broke in the episode, or do you think he was gone like from the beginning?
No. I think he definitely was. Once I think when I was like, oh, this guy's definitely donezo in terms of like he could die right now and he would be comfortable with it, was when Bubbles was gonna stab him and he just closed his eyes, and he was down for it. To me, that's when I was like, okay, this guy is clearly just he's had enough. And then once he got better a little bit, I think in the middle, or they kind of tested it a bit more, and then when it got to the swamp and that stuff happened, he again was just he sort of gave up even more.
Yeah, I definitely agree. How did you feel about when he like screams like "I'm not your king"? Because that rings in my ears. I feel like with this episode.
That was a impactful ass scene right there in line.
I mean, he's fed up with everybody dying for him.
Yeah, because Dami's is like, who am I? Like, what am I really doing here? Like, am I actually your king? Do you need to die for me? Like. There's a lot of pent up feelings, I guess, that he hasn't.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, like, if he probably also thinks, like, if he's just like looking at the people who are still left or whatever, he's like, why is not everybody? I mean, she wasn't there at the initial whatever, but why is not everybody protecting Carol? Because she's much more useful than me in this fight.
Yeah.
In some. I mean, I would say, I guess people could make an argument otherwise, but I mean, she's like a one-woman army, so.
No, exactly. So like you could say like maybe his positivity and stuff led to, them prevailing in the end and helping the cause, whereas Carol's just on her own doing her own thing was more helpful. I mean, I don't know.
You can make a case either way, I feel like.
Pretty. Yeah, I think you could.
But I think in his eyes, he's probably like, who am I? I'm not like a big soldier. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, like, so I think, because in the flashback, she's like, have you ever like done, like, fought like this before? And he's like, no,
He's
but
like,
I will prevail.
Yeah, he
You're
put on the
like,
front. He's like, she's calling me out. Shit. I mean, like one time, I mean, I was at a Costco and this guy took the last card. It's just, you don't want to hear about it. Don't worry. He's roughed up though.
Yeah, basically. So it's like, I think there's a realization of like, why are all these people dying for me? And it's really sad.
Much sadness.
Do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to get into for the episode?
Yeah, I actually do. So when I rewatched it, I don't know who wrote this episode specifically, if it's someone who's done it a lot, but there was like one or two moments that were just, I don't know if it was unintentionally funny or the writer just like subtly put in like some humor.
Yeah.
One of them to me was so Ezekiel, all the bodies are there, and the first guy comes to get him, right? One of the saviors?
Yeah.
Or not saviors, one of his people?
Yeah, right.
He's walking up, and then he's like, "Oh, look at all these zombies!" Like, I guess we'll just go through, and then he gets shot, and then just falls. Like, I started dying of laughter. It's so funny. Like, I just thought that was just so funny. He's like, "Well, it's not even like he was like all like really dramatic or anything. It just sounded like a regular, like some dude who was just like standing in line at a Walmart. He's like, oh well, I guess we'll just go walk through." And he just gets shot and falls.
Yeah, there is something very comical about it, just the fact that like it's such a serious scene.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing, man?" So that's
so
something
true.
I noticed. And then there was another one. I think it was, when Carol doing that little standoff, and then she puts the gun down. She's like, I have no guns. Leave me alone. I'll tell you where they are." And then she pulls a knife on the guy, and then what does he do? He says, "Oh, he poached it. Light him up." Like, never in my life would I have thought like a character on The Walking Dead would say, "Oh, he poached it. Kill him."
Well, I also thought you were going to bring up when Rick
there's
went
okay, yeah. What
flying
did you
out of
think?
the car.
Pardon?
When Rick went flying out of the car.
Oh yeah, that was
And
hilarious.
like Daryl's finding him and he's like crawling out, like, because a lot of shows want to make their lead guy like super suave and like whatever. You always see Rick like tripping and falling like an idiot. Like,
yeah, Rick he has many things, but gracious is not one of them.
yeah, I mean, he gets shit done. Don't get me wrong. Like, he handles everything, but
Yeah,
it was just hilarious where Daryl's like, "Oh God, is he dead?" You know.
didn't Daryl say something along the lines like "Get your shit together, you look like a mess"?
Yeah.
So like I definitely feel like there was like just a little dash of humor in this episode, which I appreciated.
Love that. Yeah, for sure. Oh my God.
Yeah, but anything else that you any other standouts about this episode for you?
I-
Like, so where does this rank for you in season 8?
It's up there. Like, if I had to choose an episode, it would have been like of the top 3 that I was choosing from. I bet. I think so. I have a really like strong and like deep connection to the scene where Rick lights Lucille on fire.
Oh, that was insane.
That was just for that moment alone. I might have picked that episode, but I think this as a whole, the episode was the best in season 8. But that moment was my favorite.
I'd agree. Probably my favorite. It's probably my top 3 as well.
Yeah.
And the intro is probably one of the best in the entire series, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. It's such a well done episode, and I thought it was brilliant. And I know that this is like, we can talk about this, but like a lot of people, at least they pop up on my channel all the time, and they're like, The Walking Dead sucks now, and it's the worst. Like, you know, and they just like to talk about how the last 2 seasons haven't been that great. But if you look at it like an episode like this, I feel like this was very, very well done.
No, definitely, I'm with you there. And like, I mean, I'm biased. Like, I love The Walking Dead. Like, it's my shit. But I'm sort of in the camp. Like, I can acknowledge, like, yeah, the past 2 seasons there have been some things hit and miss, but there also have been some great moments and episodes. And for me, this is definitely one of them. Like, it was like very character driven. Centerpiece of Ezekiel mixed in with some solid action that also progressed, Carol and I'm trying to remember what happens after with that sequence. No, and it progresses the narrative, right? Like the guns, right? They got the guns.
Yeah, yeah. It
So
was kind of the final bit of, because like the first three episodes were like them starting the war, and the first three episodes kind of play as like one right after the other, and then the fourth was kind of like the ending to that, and then they kind of take a break
yeah, they had a Kit Kat
from
after that one.
yeah. um that's I was so thrilled when you picked this episode because it was just one of my favorites from the season as well.
Yeah. So how did you feel about this? We could probably wrap up in a bit, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. So have you read the comics or like even like a little
Yes.
bit or like around this? So how far up
I
to there are you?
haven't. Yeah, it's been a while since I've read them. I used to read them all the time, and then I got way too busy with my channel that I can't keep up with it
No,
anymore.
I
So
definitely
I think I got up to
like the All
yeah,
Out War.
no, I got past that. I got just past it though.
Okay,
So
yeah, I think for
now,
me too. Like it was one of those things where I was reading. I was like I mentioned earlier, like I was collecting these comics
I
like every single week, like all throughout high school, even university,
yeah,
and I wasn't even reading them. Like I, I just was collecting them because like it's like a 5 year deep collection, so I just kept getting them every month. But I
right,
didn't read All Out War, and I didn't read. I think even the Whispers, so like up to like around 130 or whatever it was.
yeah.
So
So
I went back and I bought the compendium and then I read them. I don't know. I think is like how do you feel? So Ezekiel, obviously, what happens to him? He's farther ahead in the show than he was in the comics, right?
right, yeah.
And they even name dropped like the whole Pike situation, so that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think I always find it interesting, like how some of the characters like are in comparison
Hmm.
to their comic counterparts. And do you think he's like one of the more similar ones, or do you think he's just like starkly different in the show?
Uh, I think he's a pretty accurate representation of Ezekiel. I mean,
I
like
think so too. Yeah.
I'd say like maybe like obviously not like how he looks verbatim. Like he doesn't like I'd say like I think like a 1-to-1 comic translation for me would be like Morgan Freeman with like a beer belly.
Yes.
Would be more like the
Yes.
comic one how he looks, but I think what they did for the show worked pretty well, and
I
they got the gist of the things pretty well.
I think the show's Ezekiel kind of made it his,
His own.
yeah, and just kind of elaborated on it. Whereas like obviously like something like Comic Book Carol was nothing like Show Carol, and
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I mean didn't really make it that long. Sorry guys, spoilers, but she did
Spoilers.
it.
Sorry about the one person in the comics like what? How dare you?
It's so true though. I feel like
Sorry.
I have to put a spoiler warning in front of everything I say. Like it might not even be a spoiler, but I say it just in case. Like guys, I don't like I put like for this Walking Dead countdown that I've been doing, I've been like making sure that like for a lot of these chats, people bring up certain news about the next season, if you could imagine some
Yeah,
stuff.
I know. I'd imagine you stay away from spoilers at all, especially with seasons and new
I
shows
mean,
you're
you try
watching.
to, but you hear stuff. I mean, I'm always. Do you like come up out front when you hear something, or do you like just address it when you get to it, kind of thing?
It's one of the like I've done like this for so long now that like I'm like locked down on spoilers. Like I feel like I've figured out a way to just absolutely just avoid them at all costs. And
Yeah,
for the most part, like my community, like they're really nice people. Like 99% of them don't like tag me or like yo bro like you're not gonna believe this or like intentionally be like bam dies this.
yeah,
So the most part is like whenever like an episode or something's happening, just avoid Twitter. Um, Even on my YouTube, like I have like keywords blocked. Like I have a friend logs on my account. I'm like, dude, just block these words for me, so I don't. Especially with things like Doctor Who. Oh my goodness, The
yeah.
Walking Dead isn't that bad for me at least.
Well, yeah, because we're kind of caught up with it for the most part, and
Yeah.
it's
So like
not.
for
We're
now,
not going back like 10 years ago.
no, exactly. So like for me, after like season 9 pretty much is gonna be like all new stuff for me. Like I'm not gonna really know anything from the comics too much because I think I had stopped around this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I feel like I know a couple things that are coming, but that's about it. And then I should probably read them again, but I just haven't had time mostly. But yeah, like I don't even go into my Doctor Who comment sections until I get a go ahead from
Yo,
a moderator.
yo, me too. Like I don't even risk it for the biscuit. Like
Because
I want.
yeah, they it's like they spoil it, but they don't know.
It's like it's for the most part they don't try to. It's like they do it unintentionally.
Yeah. They're like,
Yeah.
I can't wait till they get to, and then they explain the entire scene word for word, and you're like, thanks.
Yeah. Like if I'm reading a comment and I like once I see like one trigger word, I'm like, oh, later. I get it.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of avoid the comments too until someone
So
mods
crazy.
it. But shout out to the Walking Dead people. You guys are really nice and don't do that for the most part. So appreciate it. And if
Yeah,
you're
I
going
mean,
to in the future, just put a little asterisk or be like, Siska's or like, Failwhale, like, don't read this and then put dot 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 and then anyone else can read it afterwards,
yeah. Yeah, some people are really good at that too, which I don't mind that. If you kind of make your spoiler warning known, then it's not a big deal.
You are appreciated.
Yes, you are so appreciated. So I have been ending these chats with a little game, and it's basically there's going to be 15 questions,
Okay.
and it's like a this or that, what would you rather Walking Dead edition. And you just have to give me the first answer that you think of.
All right, dope. Let's do it. I'm ready. I love games like this.
Okay. So, in the apocalypse,
Mhm.
would you rather have an endless supply of food or an endless supply of weapons?
Are there a variety of weapons?
Yeah.
So that means there's a variety of food as well, like ribs, like cooked
Yeah.
vegetables. Oh, I'm going food. I'll make a little stick or something like that and fight some people. I'm eating ribs tonight, yo.
Okay. Who would you rather babysit your kids? Negan or the governor?
Negan. For a second, I was like, I was trying to like remember all about the governor. I'm like, he was kind of suave, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, he was entirely sideway fucked. Not him.
He was a psychopath for sure.
He was 1 billion% out of there. He was out for lunch all the time.
I mean, I think Negan is a psychopath too, but like he's a nicer psychopath.
Yeah, like you can have like water cooler conversations with him, and he won't be like, oh wow, I keep heads in these things too.
Would you rather spend a summer road tripping in the RV with Dale or spend a summer farming with Herschel?
Ooh, I like both of those characters, but I'm gonna go with RVing with Dale. I feel like that would be fun. That would be a little bit more fun than farming.
Yeah. Who would you rather be by your side and loyal to you throughout the apocalypse, Aaron or Jesus?
I'm gonna go Aaron. I feel like Aaron would be better suited with me. Like Jesus, like he likes doing his own thing, being like a black cat, like watering off, being mischievous and stuff.
Yeah.
Aaron is just straight to the point, tells you how it is. We'll be like, hey, you want to go with me on this search? And I'll be like, all right, bet. Whereas Jesus, he'll just come back with some stuff, and I'll be like, where are you at, dude?
I feel like Aaron's just a great guy. Just enjoy. I mean, Jesus is too. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I feel like Aaron's definitely very loyal.
Yeah. How about you? Who would you choose?
I would choose Aaron.
Oh yeah, we're hashtag Team Aaron.
Yeah. We didn't know there was a rivalry going on, but there is now.
We set it in stone. Although I thought Aaron was gonna die. Yeah, I think remember that one episode. Sorry, it's like a side note. I thought Aaron was gonna die at a point in the season.
And this past season,
Yeah.
when he was like with Oceanside, and they kept like he was so determined.
Oh yeah.
I mean, have you seen photos of him in the new season? The cast photos?
No, I honestly haven't even. I think the only thing I've seen of season 9, apart from the trailer, was like that one red photo. So I don't think I've seen any photos of Aaron.
He has like an epic beard.
Oh yeah?
I'm just gonna say,
Is he
yeah.
more comic Rick than Rick?
I mean, no, I mean, I hold a special, very deep and special place in my heart for Rick's beard, but I don't know. Aaron's coming for his brand. I'm just saying.
He's gunning for the spot. Be careful. Love it.
uh, who would you rather be stuck in a prison cell with, Merle or Simon?
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and say Simon because if I wasn't Merle like racist a bit or something,
Yeah.
so probably not him.
I think if you are like a white male, you'd be okay with Merle. But
Maybe,
other
you
than
know.
that, like, not.
I'll probably just avoid any just for potential problems, even if
Yeah.
you might be cool with me, just in case.
Would you rather be alive and a cannibal
Hmm.
or a walker chained to Negan's fence?
Uh, I'd rather be a cannibal.
I like that you're honest about it.
I I mean, it's better than being dead.
That one, so far, that one was kind of like 50-50 with what
Really.
people have said. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to be like a full on crazy cannibal. Like I can eat a bunch of leaves and eat like a toe or two, you know?
Yeah. When I don't know if you know him, but I did this with Liam Duke, and he was like, I just pass the ketchup, I'm fine.
Just
And I'm like, and I'm like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh, I'm dead.
great.
I love that
uh,
answer.
would you rather live in a community with Gregory as the leader or with Spencer as the leader?
Oh man, both fairly incompetent people. Probably Spencer.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Oh no, actually no, Gregory did get shit done though at the end of the day. But he's just a goofball and an idiot. Oh,
I
actually, but so Spencer never really we didn't see his leadership skills all too much like displayed because his mom was running shit, not
I mean,
him, right?
he tried to get Rick out of being the leader and going straight to Negan, and then he got his guts. So that was his
Yeah,
one, like, moment.
I'll give him. He's a gutsy guy and all, but you know what? You know what? I'm gonna go and say I would give him a second shot. Why not?
Aw, you're sweet. I would not. I don't know. I mean, I hate Spencer with a passion. Like, I was so
Because
happy when he died.
yeah, because we saw him. Yeah. No, I feel that, but I'm gonna go with Spencer. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
against the green on this.
No, no, I think some people said Spencer. You're fine. A lot of people hate Gregory.
Because we just see him being such like a buffoon, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But he totally did like lead them to where they are now. But we just didn't necessarily see that. Whereas with Spencer, we saw
Yeah.
him on the hustle trying to do his shit, and it ended up bad. So I rate him for trying.
Yeah. That's a good that's a good attitude, I think. Would you rather eat a tub of chocolate pudding with Carl on a rooftop or get drunk on moonshine in a shack with Daryl and Beth?
Ooh, that's a great one. But I'm probably gonna get lit with Daryl and Beth. I think I'm doing that. Although I'm not a big fan of like, is moonshine like vodka? It's like really strong
You've
percentage of alcohol,
you've
right? Like,
never had moonshine?
do we got that in Canada? I don't know, maybe.
I it's like it's really bad tasting.
What is it like really strong like liquor?
Yeah.
Like vodka?
I mean, I wouldn't give it a name like vodka. You can get like apple pie moonshine and that tastes pretty good. Like you can get flavored and stuff, but if not, it tastes like lighter fluid. Like that's
Oh
how
my
I feel
goodness.
like.
Oh, so is it like higher than 40%? Is it like 65 or
Yeah.
something? Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
goodness.
It'll get you good.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. Also because I'm not particularly a fan of chocolate. It's not my like chocolate pudding or like chocolate ice cream.
Yeah.
So
All right. I mean, it makes sense. But also, I mean, Daryl gets kind of violent when he's drunk, so you have to be on guard while you're drunk.
yeah, that's very true.
Would you rather the show give a flashback to Glenn and Maggie's wedding or finally show what in the hell happened to Heath?
Oh, Heath, by far. This has been like a meme on my channel. There'll be like a random scene going on in The Walking Dead, and then I'll just like blurt out like, "Where's Heath?" Because like this guy just freaking disappeared.
Well, he's probably out there somewhere.
That's what I thought too, but then apparently I heard there was like some contract issues happening. I don't know if you heard about that. I think that was going around a little while ago. Like contractually, like he's not allowed to come back for a while or something, or like for a certain period of time.
Oh my God, Heath.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but which one did you choose for that one? I'm interested in knowing.
Oh, Glenn and Maggie.
Oh, Hundos. Yeah, okay.
Because, well, it's my top two are Rick and Glenn. So if I get to see Glenn one more time, I'll take it any way I can get it. You know?
Nah, I feel that.
But I am interested in what happened to Heath.
Maybe he's a what's it called? What's the word for that? Like, I'm having a brain fart right now. Not a walker, a whisperer.
That would be great. Oh my God. I don't know how that would happen, but
they just snatched him.
Yeah. You're one of us now.
Just listen, all right, buddy? Put on this mask.
Yes. So this next question is like very, I feel like it coincides with our chat a lot. And a lot of people have hated me for this question, so get excited. If you had to choose, who would you rather beat to death with Lucille? Ezekiel or Jerry?
Oh. Damn, I mean neither isn't an option, so I mean I must bash in somebody's brains, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think I could sleep at night knowing that I destroyed the Cobbler King. I don't think I'd sit well with that one. So Ezekiel, I'm sorry, fam.
After analyzing an episode that goes deep into his character, you're like, nope, sorry.
I mean that was great and all, fam, but like the Cobbler King, I don't know about that one.
Would you rather bring Shiva back to life, or ensure that Judith survives until the end of the show?
I'll probably go with Judith.
Yeah.
Because then, like, I don't know how. I don't think I necessarily loved Shiva on the show. But I also don't know if I necessarily loved Judith either. Yeah. But I'd probably choose the baby over the tiger.
Yeah. That's okay. There's no wrong answers, guys.
Comment section is, are you dumb, bro? That's just how about you? Shiva?
I don't know. I feel like it would be... See, like, nobody's been asking me my answers. I don't know. I've been asking all of these
Gotta make
people.
It a conversation. Mix of interview and question. You know, gotta keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like... Yeah, I think that... I feel like I would have to say Judith surviving until the end. Because I've, like, mourned Shiva.
Yeah, we've had the time, you know. Judith hasn't even lived.
Yeah. And she was like the most, I don't know what, this sounds really weird, so guys forgive me, but like, I don't know what baby actor they got for like season 4 and 5 for Judith, but her facial expressions were the most hilarious. Like, they were my favorite part of the show. Because she was always like looking up at like a walker, like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, she really had that. Like, so I had like a deep love for her and her facial expressions back then. So I feel like that's carried on. She's older now, but I still care. And like, I can't do it to Rick, you know?
Fair. Yeah, there's absolutely no way he can lose his daughter at this point.
Yeah.
She's pretty much invincible. Like, her plot armor is going to be thick as hell.
Yeah. Would you rather be as smart as Eugene or as good of a shot as Sasha?
Um, if my social skills would be as good as Eugene's due to my intelligence, I would rather have a better trigger finger than I would rather have a better
Yeah,
trigger finger than Sasha.
for sure. Yeah. I think that I don't know. I feel like both of those would be really, really useful.
Yeah, I mean, knowing how to
Honestly.
make bullets in the apocalypse is just
Yeah.
like broken. Like that's OP. That's one of the most overpowered things you could do or skills you could have in the
Yeah.
apocalypse.
This next one is not fun.
Oh
Would you
gosh.
rather make Carol look at the flowers or kill Michonne with her own sword?
Wait. What do you mean by make Carol look at her own flowers?
Make Carol look at the flowers, like shoot her in the head, like she did with
Oh.
Lizzie.
Oh, damn.
So you gotta kill Carol or kill Michonne.
Oh my goodness. That's a good. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't think I was prepared for that one. Because on one hand, Carol has had like an incredible amount of development and screen time, and like we've done so much with her. So if she were to be killed off, I mean, it's not like she didn't have a lot going on, right? We've had quite a
Hmm.
bit of development with her. And Michonne, maybe I'd kill Carol to be honest. Even though I like her so much as a character, I feel like I,
Yeah.
I would hope that they have more to do with Michonne and for Michonne,
Yeah.
especially considering, um, you know, her and Rick's relationship is just now being at the forefront. So yeah, I think I'd do that.
I
Probably gonna
like
get a
how
lot
you're
of hate
thinking
on
in terms of the show. You're like, what would be better for the show?
that.
Who would you rather be on your side in a fight to the death? Rick or Daryl?
To the death. If I can get Rick that any day. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. 100%. Oh yeah. Yeah, give me that.
I
Done.
agree. And the final question
Awesome.
is who would you bring back to life if you could? Glenn or Carl?
I'm gonna go with Glenn. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna go with Glenn. Carl, I mean, of course it was like so sudden and stuff, and Chandler Riggs is my boy and all, but I don't know if I loved Carl on the show, especially towards the later seasons.
Yeah.
Whereas Glenn, I enjoyed him, even though he was like the more composite show, and he was like in a similar boat. But I think I liked his character a little bit more, so I'd want to see him, especially in the current situation.
Yeah. I mean, you guys already know I would pick Glenn. I'd
Yeah,
pick Glenn over anybody.
Glenn for life. You
But
think they'll do a flashback anytime soon with him?
I can only hope.
Because
If
they're
they
bringing back
do, you'll
Sting.
just see me like faint on my couch, like like I won't be awake for the rest of the
I'll
reaction.
I'll watch your reaction video. There'll be a flashback, and you're just like lying down for the rest of it.
I'm not even kidding. Like for the entire season after he died, like whenever they brought up his name, I was like, oh God, and I like was like starting to cry. Like I couldn't even hear his name. Like it was terrible. Terrible. And I think a lot of the reason I don't know. I feel like a lot of the reason that people were really upset about Carl was because he was the future and not so much that they loved him
Yeah.
specifically. Although I'm
Yeah.
sure once
That.
I've said that, people will be like, "Excuse me, he was my
Yeah. I don't know.
favorite."
That whole Carl situation was just super weird, and with all, don't even get me started, like all the leaks about season 8, and it almost, at least from my perspective, it seemed like they didn't prepare far in advance enough. With like Carl getting cut off randomly, and then they're like, oh wait, Andrew Lincoln wants to leave.
Yeah,
It all seemed a little off for
I
me at least.
think.
I think the exit was pretty well handled though, for what they did.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Carl's uh, final episode was absolutely amazing, and you can't really. You can knock the show for killing him off, but I think they gave him a good send off, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Um,
You can say maybe it was awkward, it wasn't the right time, or just abrupt. Like they did the best they could with it.
Yeah, I just think that like I still don't know how I feel about it. Like I wasn't as angry as everybody else, but I think they needed something to facilitate the fact that Rick was going to be forgiving at the end of the season. And
Yeah, it's just like his son is dead. You know,
yeah,
that's a huge thing.
right. So I think that maybe they couldn't really think of anything that would have been that significant other than uh just Carl going. Because I mean, like when Rick is in his beast mode, it is very hard to get him back from that, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I still to this day, because like I did like weekly chats for the episodes and stuff, and I felt so bad because I was like, I know you guys come here for me to like talk about my thoughts about things, but I have zero thoughts. I have no idea how I feel about it. Like it's just
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
I was obviously very sad to see him go, you know, because he's been part of the show for such a long time. But
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those people who was like getting out my pitchforks, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I was either. It was really off too, just like off camera when like
Mhm.
Chandler Riggs like was he didn't even know about it. None of the actors really knew about it. The parents were like sort of shocked about it too. It almost seemed like he sort of got like chinsed or something. Like
Yeah,
they kind of screwed him over in a sense.
yeah. It's an interesting direction that they went with it, and I don't know. I mean, I guess we're all gonna see what happens in season 9,
Yeah,
but
exactly. You know, we'll see how that goes.
it could either. I mean, I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any spoilers for season 9 other than like the big thing. Um, but I have heard that the screenings for the first 3 episodes went very well, and
Oh,
people
really?
are loving them. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
So
about that.
it like just happened. Like they just like viewed it or whatever, and there's like some people saying that you know, they didn't really give any spoilers, but they said the first 3 episodes were reminding them of like a couple of seasons ago with how good they were. So fingers crossed
Fingers crossed, everyone.
that they're going to be really good. Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this. It
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun.
This was and I absolutely loved the episode, and I loved your answers to the game. You could listen to the others and find out what other people said.
No, I'm
Um,
definitely gonna go check that out.
yeah, so I just absolutely, you're so kind to do this with me, and guys down below, definitely check him out if you don't know who he is, but I bet you do. But I'll leave his YouTube channel link down below, and yeah, I guess that's about it. So
Yeah.
thank you for talking with me, and you guys, I will see you tomorrow for another Walking Dead video. Bye.
See you.